Hello and welcome to the $10 Den channel. My name is Lana Green. Today we are going to talk about my first impressions of selling on ThredUp. So I had been watching so many videos about selling on ThredUp until finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna send in a couple of boxes and see what happens. One of them I did the expedited processing on, which, as I'm sure you know, is an extra $16 that they take out of your earnings, along with the return assurance, which was $10.99, which is also taking out of your earnings. So $26.99 total for the one box that I sent in. And then the other box, I only did the return assurance. So only $10.99 has been being taken out of those earnings. Once I finally decided to send in those boxes, it was about 2 days later that all these videos came out about all these changes that ThredUp had made all of a sudden and caught all these sellers off guard and everything. And I was like, well, great. I'll just see what happens still. And because it sounded pretty bad, it didn't sound that bad. But I felt like so many people were doing so well with ThredUp that it had built up this hype about, well, I was like, well, I'm going to make so much money sending my stuff into ThredUp. And then all of a sudden it was like, the balloon deflated and I was like, I'm probably not going to make anything. But we'll just see how it goes because they were already sent off at that point. There was nothing I could do to get them back or whatever. The changes that they made were not in effect for boxes that were already in transit. They had been scanned in by FedEx, and mine had. So thankfully, those two boxes didn't count towards the changes. I sent them in, and it took about a week for them to get the boxes. Once they got those, it was 3 boxes with 3 boxes. So one I did the expedited processing on, the other 2, I only did the return assurance. So the 2 that I did not do the expedited processing on were processed first. About a week after they received them, they were processed and on the site, ready to have their prices changed. And the other one with the expedited processing took about another week, which was still quicker than what it said on their website, that they were out about 8 weeks from processing things. So really, 3 weeks was not that bad. They got everything listed, and you can see right here, here's one of the first ones. We can view that. And they took a pretty good amount of stuff, and I'll go more into detail in another video about what they took. And you can see the one of the things that they rejected that I just posted last time. You can see there are 5 pending to sell here. And I will go more into detail on those as well in the next video. But you can see I've already sold a few things first. These ones on the bottom of each listing are what has sold so far. And once they sell, once the buyer receives the item, they do have, I think, 2 weeks to return. So you don't get paid out until those 2 weeks are over. Unless they return the item and then it sells again, you get paid out immediately. So I've sold about 10 items so far, which I'm fairly pleased with. I'm pretty sure that I've made my money back, at least, as long as those aren't returned. I did sell 1 pair of Calvin Klein pants, and they were returned. So if they sell again, then I'll just go ahead and get paid out for those. I know a lot of people are upset about these ThredUp changes that have about pricing and reclaiming items. So what a lot of people are upset about, if you're thinking about trying ThredUp and maybe have not taken the jump yet, here's what everybody's upset about. So now, whereas before, if they listed something, you had 12 hours where you could change the price from what they listed it at. And you could change the price up to 80% of the retail value. Now, they are saying that if you change the price more than 50% of what they priced it at, then you will have to pay $5.99 per item to get them back if they don't sell. Whereas before, you didn't have to pay anything and you could list it at whatever you wanted, up to 80% of the retail. And I totally understand why people would be upset by this, resellers. Why resellers would be upset by this, because if you are used to making a good bit of money on this site by doing things like that, and if people are willing to pay 80% of the retail, then why not let them pay it? And the thing is, you still can price your items that way. You're just going to have to pay $5.99 to get it back if it doesn't sell. There had to have been a lot of people just abusing that system of sending things in, jacking the price way up, and then reclaiming it if it doesn't sell. Or even before, people would reclaim the item even before the 60 or 90 days, however long the item had. So what I heard of people doing was sending in their stuff, letting ThredUp take the pictures and get them posted, and then reclaiming their items real quick, and then just using the pictures that ThredUp took and posting the item to Poshmark or wherever. And I can imagine that ThredUp, that was costing them probably a ton of money in shipping and, manpower and all that kind of stuff, all the expenses that had to have gone along with that. And so I don't really blame them for making those changes. And yes, I totally agree that they should have given the 30 days notice or whatever they had agreed originally to give, if not more. But I think that they are totally warranted in making the changes they have made, because I can just imagine that it was getting super expensive for them. But my first impressions of ThredUp have overall, they've been pretty good. So my payouts on the stuff that has sold so far has not been huge, but I haven't had to do anything. I just sent the items in to them and they took all the pictures and everything, measured, listed all the details. My one kind of gripe, I guess, is that they have not gotten the materials correct in all of the listings, and even the ones I emailed them about, they only fixed one of them, and the other one is still the same. I sent in an Ann Taylor loft skirt that was 100% silk and new with tags, and they listed it as polyester. And so I emailed them about that one, and they fixed it. And then there was a Banana Republic skirt that was new with tags as well, that had a panel on the front of it that was a wool blend, and they listed it as something else. And that one they have not changed. And there were a couple other ones that I went in that I knew were kind of a special fabric, and I looked at what they listed, and they didn't list it correctly, but I didn't email them about those because they weren't as important as like the silk skirt. But that's really been my only thing so far. It takes a while, but you can imagine how much stuff they're getting every day. They did mine pretty quickly, a lot quicker than what the website said they would do. So I was really happy with that. I don't think I'll pay for the expedited processing again. That doesn't really make sense if the regular boxes are going to be processed before. I'm not going to pay $16 to get it processed a week later than not paying $16. But overall, my impressions are still good. And so I think that it is still worth it to send them things if your cost of goods is really low. I'm able to get most of my inventory for, if I go to the Last Chance Goodwill on Thursdays, I can get things for 50 cents. And the most I would pay for something that I would send to them is $1.25. Yeah, $1.25. So there's not a whole lot that I would pick up and sell on there that would not at least double that. I mean, I think the first thing that I sold was an Ann Taylor factory skirt that sold for $23, and it ended up paying me, I think, $3 and something. which is fine. Again, I didn't have to do any of the work, and I mean, I doubled my money. So that's how I think of it, and I'm good with that. Let me know if you agree or disagree about the ThredUp changes, whether they were warranted or not, how you're doing on ThredUp, or if you've been thinking about trying it. Let me know in the comments below where you're at with ThredUp. And thank you so much for watching, and feel free to subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and have a Merry Christmas. Bye.